The Swift Sport Rallycross Championship is at Liddon Hill in Kent. It's round 2 of the championship, Dominic Flitney having been the man to beat at Silverstone. But here in qualifying, he's only second behind Will Leighton. Semi-final time here at Liddon. Cars on track ready for semi-final 1, and it's Will Leighton that will start from pole position. Chris Scott and the reigning junior champion Tom Constantine with him at the front of the grid. Nikita Abramov and Don McLeod share row 2. Max Weatherly is on the third row of the grid with work to do. 10th year of the Swifts in the British Rallycross Championship package. The lights blink green, we go racing, and a good start is made from the outside of the front row by Tom Constantine, but Will Leighton gets a very good start from pole, and he will joker right from the start. The former Carter then has the advantage. Chris Scott breathes in, goes up the inside of Tom Constantine. Those two drivers from the front row of the grid. Scott from the middle of the front row, Constantine from the outside, but up front, Leighton leads then onto the Dover slope for the first time. Former Carter, former junior rallycrosser, student at the Silverstone Technical College, and now powers his way uphill, and not only does he lead, but he's getting away. Now there, look, is Max Weatherly. Not a great day thus far. That means that he's got work to do from the back of the grid, really, in this semi-final. Started 6th on the grid. He's got Nikita Abramov behind him. The order jumbled, of course, because already people have served that joker lap. Through they come then, out of paddock at the end of lap 1. Leighton it is who leads the way. Weatherly second, Abramov, the Russian driver, in third place. Battle on for fourth as Abramov gets all sideways, and over he goes, over and over and over. Huge off, and Nikita Abramov coming out of the chicane. The car is launched, it ends up upside down on the tyres. Red flag straight away. Marshals quickly head to the scene, and also you see there Tom Constantine slows right down to make sure that Nikita Abramov is okay. But that was a huge moment, all triggered by getting the wrong line coming out of the chicane. Well, Nikita Abramov is okay. Strong cars, the roll cage, of course, doing him proud. Big round of applause from the fans as well as he heads to the ambulance and then to the medical centre just for a check. Restart then of semi-final 1. No Nikita Abramov on the grid. Everybody else is ready to race, and the lights in a moment will go green. We go racing, and a bad start by Tom Constantine this time. The reigning junior champion struggles away. He's barely got up to speed yet. Again, Chris Scott will joker. So too Don McLeod this time on the opening lap of the race. That joker lap, remember, is longer and it is slower, and there, through that chicane, it's much tighter. Everybody wriggling their way through. Constantine, after that slow start, has also gone for the joker, and it means that Will Leighton leads the way, but Max Weatherly right there with him, locking up a little bit, going into the devil's elbow for the first time. 6 laps for the semi-finals and the final itself here at Liddon. As to the hairpin goes the race leader. So Will Leighton is looking good. But can that man, Max Weatherly, third at Silverstone in the opening round of the championship, do anything about him here in this semi-final? See the extra curbing put down there on the outside of the road to give the drivers a bit more width of the road to play with, rather than putting 2 wheels onto the grass. Through the chicane they come. It's made the approach to paddock much faster. There, going for the joker lap now, is Max Weatherly from the back of the grid. And Weatherly, in the car that Morgan Bailey took to win the championship last year, comes back out of the joker section and onto the Cheshunt's Drift loose, where he's going to be up against Chris Scott. Battle of the drivers that have jokered here. They're absolutely side by side. Scott will have the inside coming off the Cheshunt's Drift loose, the outside for the elbow, and through ahead of him, look, goes Max Weatherly. Chris Scott up the curb as he tries to get the undercut. Can that work for him? Let's see. Looks for the switchback. Wide in, tight out, but he can't do it. Weatherly defending nicely, or is he? Gap on the inside, there goes Scott. There's contact as he brakes very, very late. Forces the door open, but maybe just checked himself, because it is Weatherly who comes out ahead. Chris Scott perhaps electing to back out of that rather than gain the place and then risk a penalty afterwards. So, through they come at the end of the lap. Chris Scott down in third. Brother Darren has had a good day in the 1600 Super National category. What can Chris do here as they come across the loose section of circuit once more? Up front, Will Leighton still leads, still gapping the opposition, trying to build up a big gap so that he will joker at the very end and preserve the race lead. Down they come to the devil's elbow, brake hard, turn through that left-hander, and now make the climb uphill once more. It's all looking good so far for Will Leighton, but has he got enough of a gap? He's on his way down the hill as you look at the second place battle in front of this big bank holiday crowd going up to the hairpin. Weatherly through the corner, So both of these have jokered. Now the question is whether or not they can get so close to Leighton that they will luck into the lead on the joker lap. Through they come. Top four go through to the final, don't forget. And Chris Scott accelerates over the timing line, down the hill, onto the loose. And then you have to brake and turn on that loose section. Tricky section of the circuit as you look at the race leader, Will Leighton, coming up the hill. Don McLeod and Tom Constantine there together. Constantine still trying to recover from that dreadful start. Race leaders make their way now up Harry Hill once more. But Chris Scott not really staying on the back of Max Weatherly for second place. Now there is Will Leighton. Has he done enough in this ultra smart green car to not just lead but to win this semi-final? Let's see. He comes now through that chicane, sets the car up, and this time with another lap to run goes for the normal route. He'll joker at the very end of the race seemingly. So there goes Chris Scott through. Now what about Tom Constantine? He's a long way back, and this is crucial now. He's got to get past Don McLeod in order to qualify for the final. He looks quick enough now, but where's the gap going to come from? Don McLeod back onto tarmac. To the outside line goes Tom Constantine. He's going to be brave here and try to go all the way around on the outside line. Is it going to work for him? The danger is he slides wide, which he does, almost up against the barriers. Constantine's chance, I think, of getting into the final may just have evaporated. There is Will Leighton. Down the hill he comes. Don McLeod gets away from the battle with Constantine, albeit a long way back now. So Will Leighton through paddock, out of the chicane with those high curbs. That was the section that caught out Nikita Abramov, and he starts his last lap now. As there, Chris Scott falls further away from Max Weatherly. Can Leighton lead after his joker? Let's see. Brakes hard, turns sharp right, left, right again. And now as he steps down the hill, as it were, onto the loose once more, Will Leighton has indeed kept the advantage. So the gap is down, but it's still a gap, and Will Leighton leads this semi-final for the Swifts here at Lyddon. They're in second place. Max Weatherly up from the back of the grid. Third behind him is Chris Scott as they make the climb up the hill once more. A huge amount of work has gone into Lyddon over the winter. You've got to say it looks ultra smart. It's delivering some good racing as well today as Chris Scott in third place hustles on behind this man, Max Weatherly. Checkered flag, though, is about to be made ready, and it will go to the semi-final one winner, Will Leighton, who comes now out of that little chicane, a little bit sideways up the curb, but no dramas for him as he takes the checkered flag. Will Leighton wins semi-final one ahead of Max Weatherly, and then Chris Scott, in the end, a rather distant third. Don McLeod fourth, meaning Tom Constantine misses out on the final. Chris Scott third, though, behind Max Weatherly, and Will Leighton, the winner of semi-final one. Semi-final two is on the grid here at Lyddon. 6 laps in prospect, and it's the championship leader, Dominic Flitney, the man that won at Silverstone, that will start from pole position here. He has got James Chisman and Ed Stallard with him at the front, Joe Booth and Ian Flitney on the second row of the grid as we wait now for the lights to go green. Everybody blasts away. James Chisman makes a good start, and Dominic Flitney from pole position has the advantage. And there, look, there's somebody with an air brake already. One car's got the boot up, as you see, heading for the joker lap, Ian Flitney, Dom's dad. So the Flit Speed car serves the joker lap and gets back onto the road. Now, who is it that's got the air brake? I fear it's Ed Stallard with the boot up, so he's going to get all air conditioned, if slower. The leader is Dominic Flitney climbing the hill. James Chisman is second. Third is Joe Booth, and so Stallard on the front row of the grid now finds himself, for reasons unknown, with the boot open. He's getting all the cool air in, but it's not going to act as a great way to cut through the air, is it? Up to the hairpin he goes in this rather quirky looking car now. But he is still in fourth place for the moment, and it's fourth that's on the bubble, of course, because 4 go through, and Ian Flitney now, after serving the joker early on, is going to be charging along to try to get onto terms with Stallard before the end. Battle is on for second place. Across the loose goes James Chisman with Joe Booth closing up on him. Joe Booth began here in 2017 in the Swifts, so Lyddon's been a happy hunting ground for him. James Chisman there, just up the road ahead, trying to break away. Former British Autocross Junior competitor James Chisman, new into Rallycross, into the Swift this year, debuted at Silverstone, but adapting to the cars nicely. He hangs on to second place as they climb the hill now. But Dom Flitney has the advantage. He leads, and he's trying to pull clear of the rest of them as they head into the hairpin here. Turn through the corner and now make the run downhill. Dominic Flitney building that gap all the time And James Chisman now, is he just starting to creep away maybe from there? Number 36 of Joe Booth. The gap down between the top two maybe, but now it gets distorted because anyway, Joe Booth goes for the Joker lap. So that means he's on that longer, slower line, round the outside, going through the long route round Cheshunt's Drift. That's the race leader, Dominic Flitney. And now that James Chisman has, for the moment, if you like, got rid of the turquoise car of Joe Booth, he can concentrate on the race leader. Can he bring down that gap? Can he get within a Joker lap pass, in other words, to get the lead when Flitney serves the Joker? Let's see. Out of the hairpin. So far, so good for the Flit Speed car. Dominic Flitney then down the hill. And looking oh so strong up front here as he brakes and turns right into paddock. Flicks through the corner across the loose section of the circuit now. There behind him in the yellow car is James Chisman. But Chisman, as long as he gets through into the final, that really is mission accomplished, because the heroics here are, when you're running in second place, rather irrelevant. Save the heroics for the final, because that's the race they want to win. That's where the big points are on offer. So Chisman stays ahead of Booth for the moment. In the background, the troubled Ed Stallard is still ahead of Ian Flitney. So can he stay there to the very end and get into the final itself? Let's see. Climbing the hill, Joe Booth. But he's not now being able to do much, it seems, about James Chisman, who is looking good for that second place. Up front, though, Dominic Flitney looking oh so strong. Comes through that little chicane, out of paddock. There in second place is Chisman, behind him for third place, Joe Booth. So with people having served the Jokers, the gaps have opened up a little bit. Also added, of course, to the outright pace of Dominic Flitney, who is looking so strong up front, no question about that. And Stallard still struggling on with that boot up as the race leading car, that of Dominic Flitney, already out of the Devil's Elbow, goes up the hill. This is James Chisman, all on his own in second spot now, trying not to put a wheel wrong and therefore maintain that gap over Joe Booth. Brake for the hairpin, turn through that right-hander and now drop downhill once again. And there is Flitney, all looking good for him here. Onto his last lap, and this time around he will go for the Joker. Some do it early, get it out of the way. Others leave it to the very end. Push, 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 build that gap, and then take the Joker. Unlike Silverstone, of course, where the Joker lap is at the very end, the option is at the end of the lap. Here, it's at the start, so you make the decision as you go to the first corner at the start of the race. Silverstone, where we were for the opening round, it's at the end of the lap, rather quirkily for most rallycross circuits with the Joker lap. But it looks as though Dominic Flitney is on target to win semi-final 2. He's got the advantage, he's got the gap. Second there is James Chisman, third is Joe Booth. And despite the boot being up, it looks like Ed Stallard is going to be on for that fourth place. And so strangely, the Joker actually hasn't really shuffled the order here. Perhaps they're all concentrating on getting through to the final without any dramas at all. So this is Dominic Flitney. He turns his way with a touch of understeer through paddock, lines it up to squirt over the timing line and to win semi-final 2. And Dominic Flitney, the winner of round 1 at Silverstone, wins this semi-final here at Lyddon. Second across the line, James Chisman, and it's going to be Joe Booth for third place. So Dominic Flitney dominates semi-final 2, 6 seconds clear of James Chisman. Joe Booth third ahead of Ed Stallard, despite the boot up, and Ian Flitney misses the cut. The final is good to go here at Lyddon in the Swift Sport Rallycross Championship. Will Leighton starting on pole position from Dominic Flitney, and then James Chisman. Max Weatherly and Chris Scott share the second row ahead of Joe Booth, Ed Stallard and then Don McLeod. We are ready for what promises to be a lively 6 laps of racing. As the lights go green, it is blast off. Who makes the best start? It's Flitney from the middle of the front row. Quite often pole position here puts you on the gravel, brought from that cut through back on the circuit from paddock, and it's not the best place to be, and it's happened again seemingly because Leighton a little bit slow off the line. For the Joker goes Chisman and others, including Max Weatherly, and the race leader is Dominic Flitney with Will Leighton down in second place, and he's got work to do now as the cars dive into the Devil's Elbow for the first time. Chris Scott goes third there, look, on the inside line. Leighton then, with work to do, heads up Harry Hill for the first time, going after Dominic Flitney. He wants this race lead back if he can do it, and Scott brakes hard and turns into the hairpin now. Black car of Flitney, green car of Leighton. Is it going to be that order at the end of 6 laps? Let's see. Down the hill they plunge once more into the right-hander at paddock. Through the corner and now sprint across the line. It is Flitney that leads at the end of lap 1. Going with him is Will Leighton. And very few takers for the Joker lap this time as they all go for that normal lap onto the loose section. Number 40 you can see pushing on there. Ed Stallard getting himself onto the back of Chris Scott. Stallard adapting very well to these cars. Newcomer to the class but having a great go here. This is for 3rd place. Scott just ahead as they come to the elbow. Stallard is close but doesn't have a go this time. Up the hill they head now towards the hairpin, and while this battle goes on for 3rd place, so the race leaders are getting away a little bit. Through the hairpin goes Chris Scott, and he now plunges down the hill once more. He's going defensive, and that means that Will Leighton in 2nd place is getting away ever so slightly. Down they turn through that right-hander onto the loose section of circuit here. Scott versus Stallard as up front the race leader Dominic Flitney is getting away, and look, for 3rd they joker together as well, so that prevents Stallard from getting the undercut because his pace is going to be dictated by Chris Scott ahead of him. That might not have been the best move. Back onto the loose section of Chesson's Drift they come, and there you can see the order shuffles because now Weatherly gets himself up past Scott. They brake hard, they come into the elbow and turn their way out of the corner up the hill. Chris Scott goes a little bit wide up onto those new curbs. Max Weatherly, he didn't do that well in the heats, but worked his way up the order in his semi-final, closing now onto the back of James Chisman, newcomer to the class this year, who in turn, in the yellow car, is on the back of Joe Booth, and they drop down the hill now. Through they come, into paddock once again. There, look, is Ed Stallard. Lots of dust kicked up as they, as a group, head across that loose strip, back onto the tarmac. Joe Booth now goes for that longer, slower line onto the Joker lap. So Chisman is ahead, look, of Weatherly, who's ahead of Scott. The order jumbles once more as they come across the loose section of the course. But up front, it is the Silverstone winner, Dominic Flitney, looking good. Tom Constantine, the man that was 2nd at Silverstone, had a dreadful start to the semi-final and could do no better than last place, 5th place. So he has missed out on the final. A very bad day for Tom Con, meaning he's got work to do at Pembrey for the next round of the championship in order to score points. Meantime, Chisman here, fending off just the car of Max Weatherly. Dominic Flitney, though, is away and gone, looking oh so strong. He was always there or thereabouts last season, but 2019 has opened absolutely stunningly for him. There, Will Leighton, another newcomer, goes for the Joker lap. James Chisman through. Now Chisman has got Max Weatherly riding shotgun, looking for a way past onto the slippery, loose section of Chesson's Drift. There goes Leighton, back onto the normal lap. He will hit the Dover slope, clear of this battle between Chisman, Weatherly and then Scott. But the real question up front is what sort of advantage has Dominic Flitney been able to pull out, and therefore is he going to be able to hang on to the advantage next time around when he serves that Joker? It's all looking good for him, you've got to say. There though, Chisman under attack. Weatherly has to go to the outside line, wide into the hairpin, tight out will be the plan, but the door is not really open for him. Flitney comes through now onto his last lap. He will get the Joker done this time. Heads deep into the corner, goes to the long route round on the outside of Chesson's Drift, stands on the brakes here, careful not to make a mistake and lose time, and then he will step down onto the loose surface once more. Leighton is hanging on to 2nd, Chisman is hanging on to 3rd, but where will Flitney blend back in? He should still be in the race lead. There he is. The gap is less, but it's still a gap, and so Dominic Flitney leads here at Lyddon, and it's going to be a 2nd victory of the season for him, seemingly. Unless something goes wrong with 2 corners to go, he will defeat Will Leighton. Even so, I think Will be well pleased with the way that he's gone today. He's looked good, looked strong, and comes now through the hairpin. Downhill they come for the last time. Frustration for Will Leighton. The gap is tantalisingly close, but not close enough to enable him to have a go. They turn right, and then up towards the timing line. The checkered flag is going to be ready for Dominic Flitney to make it 2 from 2 in the Swift Sport Rallycross Championship. 2nd across the line is Will Leighton, and the fight for 3rd goes the way of James Chisman, but only just. Loads of action, as ever, from the Swift Sport Rallycross Championship. Dominic Flitney, double winner. 2 out of 2 for Dominic Flitney. Will Leighton, a great result to be 2nd ahead of James Chisman. Max Weatherly is 4th from Chris Scott, and Ed Stallard rounding out the top 6. So Dominic Flitney now is getting away. 12 points to the good in the championship, with Max Weatherly, Will Leighton and James Chisman up to second, third and fourth respectively. Next stop, Pembrey.